gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Generation Dan, where it's a bunch of guys that think that they're really funny, pretending to be funny on the internet for the amusement of people that they'll never meet in their entire lives. My name is Kayla McDuff, and I'm representing the Zoomer generation of unfunny assholes. And joining me are...
That cuts deep. I'm Atlas Novak, I'm your millennial, and I'm in a kindergarten classroom right now that's empty, luckily.
I feel like we're all leaning on our crutches. I have money and I paid for a green screen. I'm Dino the Genetic Marvel. I'm your Gen Xer.
And I'm Paul Jacek, and I'm in my beach bungalow in Long Beach, looking out at the retired ocean liner, being grateful that two queens have retired here in Long Beach.
That's fair.
I think this will air still during Pride Month, so yeah, that's accurate.
There it is. I don't know that I'm as gay as I used to be. I'm like every other male. I want the remote and a nap.
Wait, so that's
I
like
feel that's fair. Like that's not unreasonable. You're still listen. It's oh, Paul. This is really edgy material that I haven't used yet out of fear, and man, I don't know.
Wait, so is there like a version of that fun song, At Least I'm Not As Sad As I Used to Be, but it's just At Least I'm Not As Gay As I Used to Be?
Might be.
Yeah.
I go back and forth on how gay I am. It's kind of a daily thing. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, you young folks, it was you got more files. My generation got gay, straight, and bisexual was a little iffy.
Well, yeah, bisexual is just soon to be gay, right? Isn't that?
I mean, I can tell you about some sleepovers I had, and then we can kind of hash it out.
Do it with a 2-drink minimum, kiddo. Don't just give it away. No, I used to work in adult film. Don't just give it away.
Ooh, that's
give it away now.
That's a good motto, though. Don't give it away. Like, listen. Letting people into your intimate space is can be taxing, and some people are trash.
Why buy my cow when I'll let you suck the teats for free?
Oh, this is a shocking number of nipple mentions this early into the episode.
Welcome to Generation Dan, and the new episode feature for this week is the nipple counter. Look at it at home and tell you along. Did you say nipple 400 times? I don't know.
Oh my god! All right, we're gonna talk about something. We're gonna ask Paul Jacek some questions first. The first question we have for you, Paul, is what's an embarrassing song from your playlist?
Well, Atlas, I thought about this. I grew up in Colorado, and my father loved polkas. And every Sunday I remember coming to California thinking, mariachis and polkas are very close. But there was one that I actually loved, and he and I would laugh, and we'd work in his workshop and sing along to the "She's Too Fat for Me" polka. I still love it.
She's Too Fat for Me polka. Dino, was this song played at your wedding?
No. Number one.
That along with the beer barrel polka, but I actually know, most of the words to the "She's Too Fat for Me" polka.
Oh.
Embarrassing.
I feel like polka is kind of underrated. Like, I know accordions are kind of derpy, but like it seems like it'd be fun, no?
Oh, and it's great fun. It's a lot of fun.
Listen, it's traditional music. All traditional music has so much more passion to it than what you hear now. Mm-hmm. And now it's just people crying, and you're like, ugh. Cry about something worthwhile, not about somebody leaving. How about cry about somebody staying, the bastards?
Look, I just want to know what to do with a drunken sailor. That's all I want to know.
Well, I have
music taught me that.
From my early 20s, I have some info about that.
Oh, please do. Pray tell.
What do you do with
first of all, you can always look for in the back of their shirt is where their like employee number, their U.S. Navy number is, and you may need that later for the police.
Oh.
Okay, that's not where
interesting.
I go, but cool.
I thought he was just going to say, like, put him in the longboat till he's sober. But no. Find the Navy tag so you know what to do with him for the police. Got it.
Find the Navy
like
tag
getting into a cab and taking a picture of their license, right? They just click, just in case. Listen, we live in a crazy world. I think that's
all right,
fair.
Step 1 in dealing with a drunken sailor. Invest in binoculars. Apparently.
And shave his belly with a rusty razor.
What?
What?
It's aggressive there, Atlas.
It's just from the song. That's what I'm saying. Like old music before there was like the Hays Code or whatever the fuck. I can't remember what it was for music, but like just a lot of old songs are real dirty.
That's true. There's that song that's we played it on here, didn't we?
Maybe
They played it on I forget which song it was. It's an old song from like the 20s, and it's a lady talking about her boobs relentlessly, and you're like, oh, that's like they played it now in comparison to like songs like WAP and stuff like that.
Is that like the "My Milkshake Brings All the Boys to the Yard" of the Golden era, or
yeah,
but from the 20s. God, you're so young.
Post World War I. Oh, I'm sorry, Dino. I'm unfamiliar with the 1920s because of my youthful
No,
energy.
it's not that. It's just that you have less. I feel like you've seen less, and when you see less, you don't have the same point of references as it's not as versatile.
I've seen a lot, just not a lot of like.
Shit, they got Ritz
old people
crackers.
shit, you know. They got Ritz crackers in the kindergarten?
They got Ritz crackers in the fucking kindergarten.
Oh my god.
That's fabulous.
There's going to be a small child that comes into that kindergarten after the summer is over, and they're going to be so disappointed.
Well, it's going to be a new class of kindergartners, so that's
They'll never know.
check and mate, good sir. Yeah.
The only mate I'm checking is your mom.
Ayo.
Ayo.
That's actually a fair question. Does Katie have good snacks at home?
We do have good snacks at home. She just had me go grocery shopping today, and I got pork rinds, but it's for cooking somehow. I don't know what it's for. She has me go get the ingredients, and then I come back and she cooks with them, and then it turns into something delicious. And I'm like, I have no idea how that happened, but thank you. And then
Like, hey, Katie, can you turn my Oreos gourmet? And then she starts going crazy.
Gourmet Oreos might be the episode title for this week.
Do you know that Oreos are vegan?
Yeah. The cream isn't like cream. It's something else, right?
It's not real food. You're like, that is my entire childhood just crumbling before me. Like, oh, I'm not going to side with the vegans. I need more. I need more animal products in my cookies.
What part? You know that it's Dino when he looked at Oreos and he's like, "These are wholesome and a whole grain
Too good.
Oreos." Yeah, nobody looks at Oreos and goes, "This is a healthy, like, get all your vitamins and minerals snack." It's fucking Oreos.
Dino looks like Dino looks like he eats Oreos like they're tortilla chips, and Alice looks like he splits them down the middle and slowly licks the cream off.
I do. I literally do.
But he maintains eye contact the whole time. That's what he really does. You know?
That's true.
Like that time
I had an aunt who was a 50s mom, and all of these preservatives were great fun. And she made a completely fake dinner that was delicious. We had a Velveeta and Spam chunk casserole with potato chip crust. Oh, sure.
Oh.
And then there was usually a Jell-O ring with odd things floating in it with Cool Whip. And she also made a mock apple pie from the back of the Ritz crackers box that only used like water and Ritz crackers and tastes remarkably like an apple pie. I'm not sure what happens.
Wait, it uses water and crackers and it tastes like apples?
I've heard of this. I've heard of that.
I haven't heard of this.
Yes.
It's delicious.
It's some sort of sorcery. There's a lot of cinnamon involved.
There is, exactly. Right. And then follow it up with either hot or cold tang.
Mm-hmm. Oh. Hot tang?
Oh, sure.
I have never had hot tang. That is genius.
Oh, I'm from Colorado. We also do hot Dr. Pepper with a lemon slice.
Okay, speak for yourself, sir.
You what?
Speak for yourself, sir. I am also in Denver, and I have never had that in my life.
Hot Dr. Pepper?
Caleb, are you kidding? It was they used to have a big campaign on the way to Winter Park. It was they served it on the snow train.
Served it on the snow train?
You bet.
This sounds like a freaking story that I would need therapy after. I don't know. This sounds a little fishy, dude.
Oh,
like an excursion that would lead to some questionable outcomes.
Oh no, it was there.
So you just kind of put
Get on the snow train and drink hot Dr. Pepper
and just heat it up. How do you make hot Dr. Pepper?
Yep, you just pour it in a saucepan and just below boiling. Oh, it's delicious.
It would be a simmer, I believe. You bring
I
it
don't
to
know
a
if I-
simmer,
I
add
don't know if
lemon.
I can. I don't know if I can because like
I
I fucking
mean-
love Dr Pepper and like
Try it. No contempt prior to investigation, young man. You get out there and try that.
I mean, now
I
that
will this winter.
am,
It's too fucking hot right now.
now that I am of legal age in Colorado, I guess I can get stoned off my gourd and then try it.
Also true.
Sure.
Dude.
Seems
I
reasonable.
have the last few weeks been because I got Paramount Plus to watch those South Park specials when they were first airing. And then I realized they have like Nickelodeon's entire library on there. So I've been getting super baked and watching Rocket Power and like, holy shit. Rocket Power when you're stoned is mwah. It's like the show for stoners before they knew they were stoners.
Also on a children's network, apparently.
Kind of, yeah. Well, no, it wasn't like explicitly it's kind of like the equivalent of like a sexual awakening, but for weed. You know how there's that like that
Weed
episode of the
sexual
show
awakening.
of some show where you're
Sexual awakening, but for weed. That's a new
Yeah.
one. Now, hold on. Atlas, can you go back and watch cartoons you watched as a child and think that and enjoy them? Because I tried to watch G.I. Joe and He-Man, like the original ones, and I said I may have had a learning disability growing up. They were like, they're bad, man. Like, they're not good at all. And listen, so you know, everyone is Casey Kasem. Casey Kasem is everyone in all of those shows. It was Casey Kasem the whole time. Like, that's
I'm Casey Kasem.
I'm still trying to make the joke work that I'm like, one of my life's great regrets is that Casey Kasem couldn't announce Wet Ass Pussy on the top 50 songs of America on
The top
Saturday
50
afternoon.
songs of America. Coming in at number 12 is Hot Ass Pussy.
You know? Like, that's a level of class we never will experience
bad is-
anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think at least for Caleb and I, the cartoons of the 90s and the early 2000s were, in general, at least like of generally better quality in terms of writing.
I mean, if y'all want to talk about sexual awakenings of cartoons, let's talk about Danny Phantom for a second.
I just watched that. I just finished that a few weeks ago.
Let's talk about Danny Phantom. Let's talk about the Goofy movie. Let's talk about Jimmy Neutron. Oh my God, Jimmy's mom.
Talking about young guy shit.
I have no idea what any of those shows were. Not one.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like for those kind of shows, it still felt like I was doing something wrong when I was watching them. Like whenever Katie like walks in the room, I'm like watching The Office. Yep. Totally not watching a ghost boy going through walls, disappearing and flying. That's yeah.
Oh. I have no shame with that. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm watching cartoons, and my wife would be like, "This is the worst thing I've ever seen in my life." I'm like, I think I may have had a disability. I'm just saying, I've overcome great disability in my life apparently, because those cartoons were horrible, sir. Horrible.
I've been watching Love on the
like
Spectrum and having an
Gen Xer,
identity
right?
crisis.
I'm sorry?
You're like an older Gen Xer, right?
Oh, I'm a complete boomer. I was born in 58. I'm let's see, Madonna, Michael Jackson, Prince and I are all the same age. Well, I'm alive. And we're not sure about Madge. I'm not sure what's happened there. If you've seen a recent photo, she's younger than her daughter. I don't understand.
I believe, much like Penelope Spectra on Danny Phantom, she feeds off of people's misery.
Maybe.
And then keeps herself young that way. What were some cartoons that you liked as a kid, and do they hold up if you watch them?
Oh well, see, I am so spoiled. I grew up on Looney Tunes and Bugs Bunny. I mean, my love of opera came from Bugs Bunny. My love of drag came from Bugs Bunny. I mean, he got away. If you've ever seen the couple of episodes where he's dealing with Hollywood celebrities. And now, not many people would even know who half of those people are. But he looks at the camera in one, and I've seen it a million times. I finally understood who it was. He's at the Hollywood Bowl. He sits down to the piano and looks right at the camera and goes, "I wish my brother George were here." And he's Liberace. I mean, I peed myself. He's hysterical. So I grew up with that. I grew up with the Flintstones and the Jetsons.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was very important in the late 60s that whatever the cartoon was also became a musical group. So Josie and the Pussycats, phenomenal.
The Archies.
The Archies, You Bet Sugar Sugar. I was 11 when it came out. And we used to get our music from the back of the cereal box. They would actually have the record printed on the back of the cereal box. You had to cut it off and try and force it on your record player. But you got that. My first copy of Sugar Sugar was from the back of the Sugar Smacks box.
That's crazy.
Okay. I learned other languages with the song Sugar Sugar because I heard it in Greek and I'm like, hey, wait a minute, because I can speak Greek. And I'm like, it's the exact same song. And then I'm like, hold on, because then there's a Spanish version, there's other language versions, and you're like, hey, I'm learning sounds. Well, what's happening right now?
That's fabulous.
Ooh, awesome. That's actually that'd be an interesting way to do it. I think I should look up songs.
Dude, Sugar Sugar is in like 50 different languages. Like
that's really funny.
Yeah, that's when people actually listen, man. That was a time when people created music that you're like, oh, we'll just translate the song into every language we know, and people are like, yeah, that's a good marketing idea, and then just that's what happened. And you're like, oh yeah, no, just insane things like that. And
even theme songs for the TV shows. If you listen to some of the theme songs, the song from Room 222 is still great. My favorite kind of hot one was for Johnny Quest, which was the first gay, cartoon. Sure. Because there was, Dr. Quest and his boyfriend Race, and then Haji was Johnny's little boyfriend, and then they had that little fag dog. It was all wonderful. I loved it. Scooby-Doo, though, that's why I was introduced to a lesbian, because Thelma, in her big turtleneck, would lose her glasses, and it gave her an excuse to grope Daphne. So,
yeah,
that was the world I grew up in.
Hey, listen, we all know why everyone started wearing glasses on that show.
That's right.
Fill up Daphne.
Beneath that baddie sweater lay the dreams of many an introverted young man. That's all.
There you go.
Also true. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Jesus Christ. Second question for Paul, because I completely forgot. What's something you like to do because you're a grown up and no one can stop you?
Two things came to mind. Going to taste ice cream, and then that's all I do. Can I have a taste? Can I have a taste of this? And then when I'm finished, I just walk out. Yep.
I love it. That's great.
Yeah. And the other thing that I do is I sometimes, not all the way, but challenge people in the checkout line, because now I have no compulsion going, you only have 2 items. Can I go ahead of you? And I have a basket. Sometimes I will cough a little bit, because people are still flipped about COVID. So I'll cough a little and go, can I go right ahead of you? I have things to do. I'm busy.
That's, I appreciate the bluster, if nothing else. That's, just, can I
that's
go
what
ahead
happens
of you?
over the age of 60. You just don't care about what you don't care about. I don't care.
That's fair. Well, no, you could say, can I go ahead of you? And they have every right to say no. That's fine. But you can ask. There's nothing wrong with that.
Worth a shot. I want to see how far you can get away with that. Like, how big of a grocery cart do you have where the person's just like, no, fuck you? Like,
well, I'm single, so I don't usually have a lot,
but maybe just like for a social experiment, like they do this on Mythbusters or whatever. They have like a basket with like a couple items in it, and then a full basket, and then a grocery cart with bigger items, but there's like 4 of them. How far can you go before the person goes, fuck off?
That's interesting. That'll give me something to do this week.
Yeah. You're just at the Ralph's or whatever, and they're just like, why are you still coming here? Like, it's for science, goddammit.
It's for science. I just feel
like post it on YouTube, you can call it a social experiment and freaking make it in.
Listen, that's only reasonable, but I feel like Paul standing in the grocery, looking at people and then counting what's in their things. You're going to get in trouble eventually.
Well, what's interesting, since we've all been under such terrible strain, at the height of the lockdown, I was going to the grocery store, and I came around the corner, and it was like the lines at Disneyland, and they had big taped arrows, so we had the flow. And I came around the corner, and there was a woman crouched down. At first, I thought she was maybe using the bathroom, crouched down, crying in the middle of the aisle. And as I got a little closer, she had a very nice handbag. I was feeling safer. Some nice shoes, felt safer. And then she had something in her hand, and I said, are you all right? And she said, I don't know which one to get. And she's crying. And I said, well, let's stand up. And she just looked at me and she goes, there's too many. she had this list in her hand, and it just said pickles. Now in front of her are three huge,
The
you know,
wall of pickles, right?
yeah, and it was that everybody has a pickle aisle. That's where she supernovaed. I said, honey, these are just pickles. And the manager's very nice. If you pick the wrong ones, I bet you could bring them back. And she goes, well, and her mother was in hospice. I mean, she had a lot on her plate. And she said, you're so nice. And I said, no, I'm just getting some dill pickles, really. You're just kind of in the way. So if you could just. And, but, everybody has that moment recently. And, the tension's been pretty incredible. Everybody has their own pickle aisle.
Yeah.
Luckily, I love your sass, Paul. I love your sass.
It's great. For listeners out there, this is like, if you've listened to the Mary Kennedy episode, this is like her bestie. So if you enjoyed that, you'll be enjoying this one.
Absolutely. Oh, goodness.
So the next question we got is, what was the first time you felt like an adult?
When I held my infant nephew for the first time.
Okay. How old were you?
15.
15.
And I wasn't a full-on adult, but I realized that my grandmother was just about to turn 16 when she had her first baby. And my grandfather was 17. Now that was 1910, but that's when I went, this is all going a little quickly. And I was an only child, and I have two older half-brothers that are 14 and 11 years older than I am. So I actually didn't have a lot in common with a bunch of illiterate 6-year-olds. So the idea of being an adult was kind of attractive. Now, at this age, this collision between puberty and menopause is exhausting, but that's how will we know if I have dementia? I've been this way my whole life, but I made a career out of it, so what the hell?
Wait, puberty and menopause as in like someone having kids older, or?
Well, no, my own emotional development. There are days that I'm like, because I just moved back to Long Beach, and I lived here in 1980, and I lived 4 blocks from where I lived in 1980. Now, it was a different world. It was under the Reagan administration. But my one-bedroom apartment then was $300 a month. And, gas was $1.09 a gallon. And
I hate you so much right now.
It was so much fun. Well, now, I was just moving in. I'm taking a shower. I'm listening to some terrific beats from like 79, 80. And I'm suddenly back. I mean, I had feathered hair, puka shells, little white satin shorts, a little disco damage, but hot. And it was such a surprise. I stepped out of the shower and looked at myself in the mirror and went, oh, Santa is in here. I don't know what happened to me, but it was a little rude shock. It was a little like, oh, wow. It was a little disturbing. So when I don't see myself, I still think I'm, 23 and with sun in my hair and Daisy Duke shorts. So it's quite a surprise.
That's like probably the closest you'll ever get to being Tim Allen, right? Stepping out of the mirror. I'm Santa Claus.
It's true. Until I tried some shorts on that I thought were a little too, short for a man of my age. And my inner thighs look like the curtain from the El Capitan Theater. So that's changed. So we made them a little longer. So
I wonder, where that kind of what does someone see themselves as for? Like, when do you stop having that image of yourself as something else,
Well, I was a makeup artist for a long time. I can always tell at what age a woman thought they were their prettiest at. That's where they stopped their makeup.
Makes sense.
Interesting. Okay.
That's why we have women of my age in their 60s with Farrah bangs and frosted blue eyeshadow. They closed it out about 18 or 19.
That's a rough statement, Paul. Oh my God.
Why? What's the problem with that?
Well, no, that's the thing is when you feel you're prettiest at that age, it doesn't get any better, man. That's the thing is that's a level of confidence and just how you carry yourself through your life, right? You're never an adult. You peaked out too soon. It's weird, right?
Peaked in high school. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really like the way I looked in high school. I feel like the way I see myself is probably late college, which is only a few years ago at this point. But I thought about this the other day where I realized I have the anxiety of someone who was bullied by the jocks in high school, and the gut of somebody who was a jock in high school, and just I think I'm gonna be all right because
I think you're gonna be fine.
if I'm okay with being that schlubby then and now, I'll be okay.
Well, this is the thing is you realize like when you're in high school, you think that that's it, like that's the peak amount. Like it's a very small pond scenario, right? Where like there are not that many people to worry about, and the social ladder's not that tall until you hit adults, right? Like, and it's not the same thing, right? So as you realize later on, they're like, oh yeah, none of that mattered. Like it just just didn't even play any role whatsoever into what you want to do in life, right? Which is weird.
It's one of those things where if you were near the bottom of the social ladder in high school, it can only go up from there, right? So like just being able to get into college where I wasn't super popular in middle or high school, so getting into college and not being super popular there wasn't much of a change. So who cares?
Yeah, but how many people actually live their life in a scenario where they think that I'm friends with everyone, but they're alone at night and things like having a real relationship with a friend, being able to be like, hey man, I'm gonna come over, and they're like, yeah man, whenever you want, you just come over, means a lot, right? And in your long term, just in how you just exist, right? Like it's the same idea. Like sometimes family sucks, but it's still family, and you're like it's convenient, right? And then they know when you pissed your pants, and like they've run out of jokes on when you pissed your pants, so you're okay.
So it's one of those things. I feel like the people who aspire to be like top of the popularity ladder in high school, like they really want to be a dictator so bad.
Yeah. But like, it's just that's being king has so many great prospects. If you're like, man, I'm in charge, I can do whatever I want. But then you realize that it's a shit job. You get to you're responsible for everything, right? At that age, when you can be, king of high school, you don't actually have any responsibilities. You have nothing, right? So the idea that you actually can comprehend the responsibility is ridiculous. I don't know.
Yeah, Caleb's having connection problems, so I think he's trying to reset his router and stuff.
That'll happen.
What are you gonna do? Yeah. So, what was it you mentioned to us before we started, Paul? Like some tea that happened, or?
So it's running around Instagram and all the socials of Monique, Academy Award winner for the film Precious, and D.L. Hughley, who I've actually worked with both of them when I was at the Comedy Store a million years ago. Monique was a baby comic then. I wasn't much more. I was made a regular in '89, so it must have been right around '89 or '90. So the dust-up seems to be some confusion about their contracts. They were appearing in Detroit, and she took exception to what was supposed to happen. She understood she was to be the headliner that evening. And she got there, and D.L. Hughley said, no, I'm the headliner. And then the dust-up. And now I hear recently that they did not even speak to each other. This was all done through a promoter, that he said if he didn't finish the show, he'd walk. So she went out and she didn't really do an act. It's now all over YouTube. It's all over the socials. She spent her 20-minute set ranting and name calling everybody. I mean, she named Lee Daniels, Tyler Perry, Oprah. She used a terrible name used for Black Americans. I mean, she lost it. And now there's a lot of damage control, and she's trying to, as my grandmother would say, she's busier than a cat on the roof looking for dirt. And DL has just basically said, you know what? That's not the story. She even mentioned Steve Harvey, of all people, and he's come out and said, here's the deal. I don't care what she says because I don't give, I don't care about Monique. But, rumor has it, and I even knew this at the level I'm working, she's difficult. But to watch her in this complete lose your mind on stage, I was like, now, just who do you think is going to go, oh, you're scintillating and interesting. Let's invite her over.
Oh.
Yeah. So.
I heard that she was not easy to work with. And with regards to, there was a promotional thing for a movie. It wasn't Precious. It was another movie. What was it? I forget what it was, but that she was just like, no, I'm not promoting anything. They're like, no, you have to. And she's like, no, I'm just not going to. Which,
honestly, that would be, because like most of the time when someone goes on a talk show or whatever, it's always to I'm on this movie, I have a book coming out, this show on HBO, whatever. But just one, like there have to be a couple where they're just, I'm just here, why not?
Well,
just to hang out.
D.L. Hughley says in his interview, now I understand what Lee Daniels and Oprah and Tyler Perry understand, that working with her is an occupational hazard.
Ooh. That's shots fired across the bow. That's
you bet. I'm like, wow. And it is kind of like watching a slow bus crash. Now that we're done with the Johnny Depp Amber Heard thing, there has to be something to fill the void. And this has stepped in nicely. But
from the slap to the Depp Heard trial to now this, always got to be some.
Hey, violence sells, baby. Violence and sex.
Here's what's interesting. Somebody said to me the other day, "Do you worry?" Now, when I was made a regular at the Comedy Store in '89, Mitzi said to me, welcome to the Comedy Store. Don't go to your car alone.
Oh, that's
so.
Okay.
As one of the
good
first
advice.
It was one of the first openly gay comics at the Comedy Store. I've never walked onto a stage not thinking that I couldn't be attacked. Mm-hmm. So with what happened at the Academy Awards and what happened recently to Dave Chappelle at the Hollywood Bowl, which now I worked at the Hollywood Bowl. I worked in priority seating for them. My question is, how did he get through the metal detector? And how did he manage to the Hollywood Bowl seats 18,000 people. That was quite a run he had to do to get on stage. And
he's going to the stage. 1 second.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Oh my God. So I know that some people have lost some gigs across the nation because club owners are nervous about hiring extra security.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing that's going on. But I think people are so hungry to be entertained. That's why, in one respect, Monique should make sure everybody gets their money back for her set, because that's not comedy. That's not what they paid for. They didn't pay to watch your therapy session. So I don't care who you are.
I mean, if you want a therapy session, go to any open mic in Los Angeles.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well, that's okay, but then realistically, let's that specific point is always something I love to talk about, is that like you have people who are like, well, I'm an edgy comic, and I'm like, you're kind of just an asshole.
Exactly.
You're just not funny, right?
You're just not funny.
You're just not funny. Now that's not.
You can't
to say
joke about anything anymore. I can't say the F slur on stage. Why not? Or whatever.
Listen, that's the problem, is that you have a lot of people that's thinking it's one thing. They're like, I'm being persecuted. You're like, no, man, you're just an asshole.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing. And that's the funny thing is, Paul, so you understand, is that I'm married. I have a wonderful wife. I've always had this face the whole marriage. Like I'm like, I'm 6'2" and 400 pounds. I'm like, yeah, I'm terrifying to be around. I'm like, and I married a beautiful woman. I'm like, I don't know how it happened. Some sort of wizardry. I'm not sure. I'm game for it. I'm not going to poke holes in it. But the point is that when I see people my age who are single and are constantly going through relationships and a lot of drama, and I'm like, hey, you should know, it's you. You're the asshole, you know. And you're kind of going, that's a hard band-aid, because sometimes, look, sometimes you can say, you know what, man, I'm just not enjoying myself. This is, you know, and you make a certain choice and you go, I don't want to do anything. But the people who are constantly crying about it, oh, you're like, oh, just listen, man. Someone needs to tell you, you're the worst, you know? And like people my age are just, they need to hear it bad.
Well, you know, that's the thing, and how I know Sir Atlas is I love teaching the craft of stand-up. Now, you know, I know a lot of stand-up comics that don't have a sense of humor either. Do you know what I'm saying? And in fact, many stand-up comics don't have a sense of humor. But as a baby comic growing up in the Comedy Store in the late 80s and early 90s, the amazing people that came to work out with their point of view and Diane Nichols and Carrie Snow, and I'm trying to think of some of the people that I made sure that while I was at the store, I snuck in and watched their set because they were so interesting. In fact, gosh, it's been about a year ago. I hadn't seen Diane Nichols, one of the best female comics I know, and we were doing a show together. And now, you know, it's 30 years later, and she walks to the stage, and I love people who take the stage, you know, and she just looked out to everybody. She goes, yes. Then she said, I just forgot Bruce Jenner's new name. What was her name?
Caitlyn.
Yeah, she goes, Caitlyn Jenner. And for no reason. And the room fell apart. She goes, she just got Woman of the Year? I've been a woman for 68 years. She's been one for 6 months. She gets a cover on Vanity Fair. Fuck Caitlyn Jenner. Well, I put coffee through my nose. It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. It's only how Diane can do it. So when I watch some of the masters that I grew up with, then I watch whatever that was spewing around in Detroit. I'm like, wow. You know, those few minutes as a stand-up comic are all yours. So make the most of them. You know, I have no problem how people use language, but I was taught, you know, if you want, we were all trying to get on television now through the miracle of Zoom. We all are on television, but to keep it clean. And there's only one joke in my act that I ever use a explicative, and I've tried using every other word there, and it just doesn't work as well. So it's the only time I use it. And there are venues that I won't use it. So, but that's where our girl Monique, talk about screaming a blue streak. You can't, I don't even know what she's saying for all of the explicatives. And, you know, it just wears you out. I'm like, I've heard it.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I feel like we've lived too long with squeaky wheel gets the grease when we've always needed regular maintenance on everything. That's what we need. Yeah. We need regular maintenance on everything.
There shouldn't be a squeaky wheel.
Well, no, if it's a squeaky wheel, shoot it. Get a new wheel. Like that's what we should just listen, you know, Sometimes a squeaky wheel just needs to be taken out of production. There's no maintenance for it. Just take it out. You know?
I think what I mean by that is that like there should be enough support and maintenance so that the wheels don't squeak. You know?
Yeah. Well, listen. Now people are realizing what it is to rule over a mass of people, which, let's be honest, there are a lot of people who are not smart, and it is a mess out there, right? So now you want to control them? Listen, but that's the thing is you want to control them? Good. Control them. Have fun. This is where I love people who are like, well, men have been in charge for so long. All right, go for it. Have fun. It sucks, man. It's a shit show up there.
Oh, my God. All right. Paul, thank you for coming on Generation Dan.
Please, I had the best time. You guys are a hoot.
Yeah, you too. Where can people find you and follow you and all that good stuff?
You can find me at pauljacek.com, all one word. Or for those of my generation, I'm on Facebook at Paul Jacek.
Generations. Find the show at Generation Dan on Twitter or Generation_Dan on Instagram. Mostly just posting highlights of our episodes if you want little bite-sized pieces. But you can find me at Atlas Novak on Twitter or Instagram, or follow my other show at Nexus at Night in those same places. That's about a trading card game. How about the rest of us?
I'm Dino the Genetic Marvel. You can find me everywhere under Dino the Genetic Marvel. But if you're not willing to Google me and click something there, we're not going to get along well. So put in a little bit of work. I'll make you laugh. I may even make you piss your pants, for good or bad. But you have to put in a little bit of effort, just a little, okay?
And your family will find out. So
also true.
Yeah.
Well, I'm Caleb McDuff, and you can find me on Twitter at Caleb C. McDuff, and I won't make you laugh or cry, but I can make you come in exchange for a PS5. Sponsored by Sony, everybody.
Daddy!
Hey, here we go. Yeah, every Thursday night at around 5 p.m. You can find me at the Sony executive office, and I'm going to be wearing a black dress, and I'm going to be coming home with digital content, baby. Woo! I love Generation Dan. I love Sony. Yeah.
Can I make a title so it's like Caleb, Throat Goat of Denver, or Throat Goat of Sony?
Caleb,
Throat Goat of Sony.
Charge extra for the nurse's shoes, Caleb. I'm just telling you.
Okay.
I mean, I'll put anything on if you put in another controller. You know what I'm saying?
Damn.
Listen, there's
right.
no reason you can't have a price tag beside your boundaries, people. Have a wonderful night. This is
Wait.
What are we doing? What's the last thing? Oh.
One more question for Mr. Paul Jacek before we go.
Of course.
What is your most memorable set as a comedian, good, bad, or otherwise?
I was part of the Colorado Comedy Festival, I think before Caleb's birth.
Likely.
And it then grew into the Aspen Comedy Festival. But we had to play all over Colorado. Now, I was born in Denver and grew up in Longmont, so I thought it would be great fun. But, and that was at a time when comics were not necessarily supportive of each other, especially around a contest, because we were competitive all week long, and then we ended up, there'd be a first, second, and third place. And we had to play the Air Force Academy and doing 2 shows. So there was a guy that I worked with at the Comedy Store who did not like me, and he was on this tour. And there was a timer at the end of the stage, and it gave you 6 minutes. And there was a female comic that went out in front of these 500 cadets, and she started into her set, and they started going, "Show us your tits!" And he turned to me, he goes, "You're dead meat, you know that." And I'm like, okay then. So I walked out, and I started into my set, and from somewhere in the room, they go, "Die of AIDS, faggot!" And I said, "Hey, guess what? My partner just did. Feel better?" And I went off script because I knew I wasn't going to win this competition, but I had 5 minutes. And I said, "Here's the deal. You want to keep gays out of the military? Keep making the uniforms out of polyester. We're good. Although we're keeping them." And I used 6 minutes to walk backstage, and the guy was such a jerk. He goes, "Oh my God, that was amazing." So the next one was at the Officers Club. So I went to the bathroom, and there's all this graffiti, blowjob 4:30.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow. So I go out, it's a teeny little stage, and there's an officer sitting with the producer. And I hear him say to her, "Get him off stage." And I went, "You there with the big hat and the too many pins. Over accessorizing, you're trying to draw too much attention." No. So I'm going to help you a little bit. Were you the one that wrote the 4:30 blowjob in the bathroom? Are you boys still hitting your knees in the bathroom here? Because I'm a Colorado native, and my mama raised me right. A little dinner, a little dancing, but we're not reduced to that. And I said, "And you're an officer? Really?" Now, Marilyn Monroe taught us that if there's something distracting, turn your back to the mirror, turn around, whatever it is, take it off. So all of that and the hat have to go. my name's Paul Jacek, and I walked off and I thought, I am so dead. But they gave me a special award at the end of the week. They awarded me the other comics Miss Congeniality for that week in 1990.
That's really funny.
Yes, indeed.
Oh, that's awesome, Paul. I love your sass. It's so invigorating. I love it.
Jesus Christ, that's amazing. Well, take his wonderful sass into the rest of your weekend and the week after. Thanks everybody for listening to Generation Dan.
Thank you
I got
for
a
having me.
PS5 for showing my body.